Election as Mark Carney and the Liberal Party secure a surprising victory. In his victory speech, Carney slammed President Donald Trump, declaring Trump is trying to break us, but that will never happen, he said. Carney, now Canada's Prime Minister, also warned that the old relationship with the United States is over and pledged to build an independent future for Canada. Let's take a listen in to what Prime Minister Carney had to say after his victory.
The system of open global trade anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. These are tragedies, but it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen.
But votes are still being counted with a potential minority government on the horizon. Carney's win is historic as he secured his seat for the first time in Nepean, Ontario, despite challenges from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre has been defeated in Charleston, ending his nearly two-decade tenure as a Member of Parliament in the Ottawa area riding. Earlier in the day, Poilievre, conceding his loss, emphasised that hard lessons have been learned and vowed to hold Carney's government accountable on issues like tariffs and sovereignty. Let's take a listen in.
Canadians have opted for a razor-thin minority government, a virtual tie in the vote count. So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on leading this minority government. We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree. We will always put Canada first as we stare down tariffs and other irresponsible threats from President Trump. Conservatives will work with the Prime Minister and all parties with the common goal of defending Canada's interests and getting a new trade deal that puts these tariffs behind us while protecting our sovereignty and the Canadian people.
In a tough night for the New Democratic Party, Jagmeet Singh has conceded his riding and announced he will step down as leader. The NDP is projected to win only 8 seats, a far cry from the 24 it held at dissolution. Singh congratulated Mark Carney and the Liberal Party on their victory, stressing Carney's commitment to protecting Canada's sovereignty. A disappointing result for the NDP as it struggles to maintain official party status. A defining moment in Canadian politics as Carney promises to unite the country in the face of turbulent times. New Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is receiving a wave of international congratulations. Leaders from around the world have expressed their anticipation of working with the newly elected Prime Minister. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky congratulated newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney, expressing confidence that Ukraine and Canada relations will deepen, especially in the shared goals of peace, justice and security. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also shared his enthusiasm, saying he looks forward to working closely with Carney. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer congratulated him on his victory, emphasising the strong relationship between the two countries and promising to strengthen those ties. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also congratulated the Canadian leader, stating that the bond between Europe and Canada is growing stronger and both sides will continue to work on shared values, trade and multilateral cooperation. On the global stage, China also expressed its readiness to improve relations with Canada. While not offering direct congratulations, China's foreign ministry reaffirmed its stance on fostering mutual respect and benefit in bilateral ties. Let's take a listen in to what the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman had to say.
中方 注意到有关报道。中方在中加关系问题上的立场是一贯的、明确的。中方愿在相互尊重、平等互利的基础上发展中加关系。
A remarkable turnaround for the Canadian Liberals, whose earlier campaign was facing steep challenges. This election marks a significant moment for the nation and its international partners. We are joined by Joshua Barnes, anchor and correspondent for NewsX World, to discuss this further. Joshua, thank you very much for joining us. This is obviously a dramatic turnaround for the Liberal Party of Canada. What can you tell us about said turnaround?
Well, Thomas, absolutely. This is a huge turnaround. If you look at the start of 2025, many opinion polls had the Conservatives at a 20-point lead. Now, this is probably attributed to Justin Trudeau's decline in popularity. Of course, Trudeau stepping down and the political newcomer in Mark Carney stepping up as the leader of the Liberal Party. Now, that is part of the reason why, but many voters have been looking at Donald Trump and his comments around Canada becoming the 51st state, and also annexation and tariffs as well as being key contributing factors. Experts are arguing that Donald Trump has won this election for Mark Carney, given his hardline stance against Trump, something that Pierre Poilievre has echoed. However, he has also set his mantra out in a similar way to Donald Trump. His big slogan was put Canada first, attributing that, of course, similarly to the Make America Great Again, the MAGA campaign of Donald Trump. But this election has been catastrophic for Pierre Poilievre individually. He's looking set to lose his seat in Carleton for the first time since 2005. Now, Poilievre became a politician at the age of 25 and has enjoyed a meteoric rise through the Conservative Party, but after conceding the elections and now potentially losing his seat, it's really a overriding theme here that the Liberals have done as the poll suggested, and they have succeeded to the despair of Pierre Poilievre. Though the vote share is fairly similar, it's looking like it's probably going to be a Liberal minority, but it is still close. Over 99% of the votes have been counted, but there are still a few ridings yet to announce the exact results. Mark Carney set currently for around 168 seats. He needs 172, his party that is, for an overall majority. That will be 50%. But it is definitely an interesting moment and a very pivotal election for Canada. I spoke about the situation with America. Of course, Donald Trump very clear in his agenda. He even made comments in the early hours in the morning as polls are opening across Canada, again reiterating that Canada should become the 51st state. All Canadian politicians are in alignment with this. That won't be happening in their opinion, but also there is global instability as well. Canada have been a key vocal voice in discussions over the Russia-Ukraine war, so that's something important that Mark Carney will have to look at, but also issues within Canada as well. The cost of living crisis, something which many Western nations are currently facing as well, issues over green living and green energy. Canada is a big exporter of fuel, so that will be a divisive topic. Also, gun laws is something else, and education too. But yes, a massive bounce back for Mark Carney, a devastating night for the Conservatives. And let's just touch on the NDP as well. Jagmeet Singh losing his seat. They've not gained enough seats to even be recognised as a party in the House of Commons in Canada. So a devastating night for him as well. The real winner and the only real winner out of this election is Mark Carney. But we wait to see whether he has the majority, though Canadians have given him a mandate.
Joshua, Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister, a political newcomer. What more can you tell us about the man at the head of the Liberal Party and now at the head of Canada?
Yes, well, absolutely. So he has a background and a history in finance, working as the governor of the Bank of England and also the Bank of Canada as well. Now, it's interesting because it seems people have placed their trust in him to steer Canada through this economic uncertainty. He was in charge of the Bank of England when it was going through Brexit, a very tumultuous time for the economy in Britain, which has had knock-on effects, but he was the person who was steering the ship through that period. Also, his time as the Governor of the Bank of Canada as well has put him in good stead for this. But you mentioned there a general political newcomer thrust into the position of Prime Minister and calling this snap election. He may be a novice when it comes to politics, but his gamble of a snap election has paid off, and he's now been given that vital mandate that he needs to carry out his work as Prime Minister of Canada.
Thank you very much, Joshua. You are staying with us. But